Welcome to Pro Practice, your guide to piano mastery. I'm Josh Wright, and today's tutorial is part 3 in a series of 3 tutorials covering the serious variations, Op.54 by Felix Mendelssohn. Today's tutorial will be covering variations 14 through 17, along with a coda in bar 337, which is marked presto, and it's very intense. And it's really going to fly. Okay, we're going to be going over a lot of tips and strategies that I've used to reduce tension, to increase speed, to voice better, to shape things, and many other facets of these variations that will hopefully be helpful in your studies of these variations. Before we get started with the tutorial portion, I'll go ahead and play variation 14, 15, and a bit of 16 as well, just so you can hear that transition between the variations. This variation 14 is one of the most special moments of the piece. We just came off variation 13 in D minor, and then it transitions to this beautiful hymn-like prayer in D major. My favorite chord of the piece. Take a breath as you switch to minor. That's like level 1, level 2. Level 3. And then diminuendo to the end. Ritardando. Okay, now we don't know if we're going to stay in D major when we hear this first D, so be very soft and mysterious. And then we know. Pedal on every one of these notes to keep the harmony clear and mysterious. This is like level 1 again. Come down and grow a little. Resolve. Level 2, a little bigger this time. Level 3. Diminuendo. And then keep the hands very light and loose. And then you're in variation 17. Had a wrong note in there. Don't worry if you have a wrong note or two. 16, 17, 18, they fly. And at least for me, I'm a human being. When I'm performing, do not go back and repent if you make a little mistake here or there and like redo something. I've heard a lot of live recordings of this, and pretty much every single one of them has some sort of mistake in 16 through 17 and the coda. So just own it. It's a really tough passage. I like to start by saying that because a lot of students are too scared to play this piece because of the ending. Now, you do want to take it seriously. If you don't have the chops to play something technical, this is not the piece to start with because this does get tough. But there are some things that I've done that can really help, that I've not only discovered on my own, but from 2 of my wonderful teachers, Susan Duhlmeyer and Sergei Babayan, both of whom I've worked on this piece with. So here we go in the Adagio, and then we'll we'll just take variation by variation. I don't have a whole lot to say in the Adagio aside from make sure, besides guiding you through it with some shape and rubato, make sure that you always have a beautiful voicing structure in here. So in order of most importance, soprano. Second most important is not alto, it's bass. Okay, so that's a much better sound than kind of just having it be top heavy with this kind of anemic, thin bass. Make sure you have a rich bass. It doesn't cover the right hand soprano, supports it. Again, just like the opening, this resolves a little bit. It's a little softer and then a little more. Same idea here. It resolves a little, and then it resolves again, and then it goes. What a beautiful chord. I love that. So I always like to take time on that. And then more, as if we're going up again, but instead he comes down to C major, which feels to me like it's cooling off, like the temperature drops in a very beautiful, inviting way. Like this is very warm, and then a much needed rest, and then take time, and then go. So if you take time here, come down even more, and then you have some momentum to go up, both in tempo, don't rush, but regain your tempo, and also dynamically. So if you take time here and you allow this to resolve, come back up. And as I said at the beginning, take a little breath here and try to be softer. So here, it's a little more, even though you're not gonna slam that end of the phrase, you just want that to be healthy enough that this can be so magical. Again, it's kind of like level 1 or phrase 1, then the phrase ends. And then phrase 2, it picks up a little bit of steam. And pedal, pedal. Just don't do, a lot of students do that and it bleeds through. Here, same thing, pedal, pedal, pedal. Of course, you can watch my pedal cam. That's going to guide you through all these pedal changes, but I like to dictate a few of the really important ones that are easy to miss. So change, change, change. My fingering there, I like 5, 3, 1, 2, 1. If you have real tiny hands, you can do 5, 3, 1, 1, 1. Just make sure to change the pedal on those. Tie this D there. And make sure you keep holding your G up top. So you can let go of the rest of that harmony, but that G is part of this next harmony there, and that connects down, or connects in our ears down. You don't have to physically connect it to here. It's almost like it's building up, and then it backs off on that pianissimo. Don't get too soft, though, because then you have nowhere to die to. So very soft. And by the way, I like to take a lot of time here so the triplet has a little momentum to there. You might think that's the opposite of what you'd want to do on a ritardando, but I think if you do it, the rhythm becomes too ambiguous that way. So I like to wait, then go, then take time. And really almost, I mean, you can flirt with danger here, be careful, but it's almost like you go down like a millimeter and then you go for it. So you're certainly not striking from above. It's almost like you're striking from the key being 1/8 depressed. If you take that idea too far, you're gonna get ghost notes and not hear anything. Okay, so, or you can just slide back, reach in toward the fall board, and slide back. That really helps. And I always liked, when I was younger, I did 3, 2, 1. I think that's too spread out and it's too dangerous. When you're in a spread out kind of tense position like that, you can easily get random accents. Make sure quickly transition because you're going to take a little time to set the last chord. Just musically, you're going to set that time. So you can certainly physically set it and get a really soft rendition of that. Okay, now here, to me, this is like we're wandering in mists again. Very similar to the variation from the previous tutorial. Okay, so here. A little bit of voicing tops, but we're not really like, not poking it out and being like, this is our melody. I want it to be covered in a mist, in a fog, in some type of confusion. We're not really sure where this is going. Or this is like the final rest before the epic battle that's coming up. And this comes right from Sergei Babayan. I used to pedal every other, so I'd pedal with the left hand. Pedal, change, change, change. He's like, your right hand's getting too muddy. You need to change on the right hand as well. Change, 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 change. Everything's going to be connected if you are diligent about holding your ties. So, or in other words, holding everything a quarter note value. The only caveat to that is these are eighth notes tied over to another eighth note. So these are on the beats in the left hand, and then the right hand has to tie into that. So change your pedal, but you're still tying that right hand. And then I'm going to keep holding this left hand while I change the pedal there. I like to kind of resolve down a little and then a little more. New idea, kind of fresh. I love that. Such a beautiful harmony. That sustain, or that suspension, excuse me, of that F before resolving down to the E. But then we have another suspension here resolving down. So chains of suspensions, they're very beautiful. I let off my soft pedal momentarily. This piano is very bright, by the way, so I do use a heavier amount of una corda than I might on that piano. Every piano has its own voice, its own level of projection, so you have to make a judgment call. Also, these mics are about 3 inches off of the piano holes in there, so it's a very hot take. If I was in a concert hall, I might not use any soft pedal here, or depending on the piano, I might not use any soft pedal on this section. It's up to you. I personally do like soft pedal, even on a velvety piano for the sempre pianissimo, but make sure you voice, if you are on a very velvety piano, you voice a little bit more tops. On a piano really bright like this, you don't really have to work that hard to voice those tops, but you got to make sure everything else is really soft. So it depends on the piano you're on. So here we go. I will let off the soft pedal, the una corda pedal, for a moment. And then I put it back down here. And I have battled inwardly because it says poco a poco più agitato. So little by little, more agitated. And I think that, in my mind, that is with the dynamic intensity. So going here, because you will hear some artists start to pick this up and go in. I actually used to do that, and it is kind of fun, but I just think there's something so pure about allowing this to resolve and then going into this. Because this is, again, half the measure, and so very much like that is bleeding over into the next variation. This one is 2, 1, and 2, and 1, and 2, and 1, and 2. Okay? All right, let's get into variation 16 with some immediate technical help.